Welcome back to it. The Now Morning Show continues on this terrific Tuesday where we've been talking the things. So now Shamla Maharaj joins the conversation and adds to those things with unique, not different.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to Unique Not Different with me, Shamla. Today I have Jamal Legen, who is the founder of the Legendary, and he is a member of the deaf and hard of hearing community. And interpreting today is Cheryl De Coteau. So a topic came up a couple of weeks ago about crime and how it impacts the deaf and hard of hearing community. And if there's any, I guess, navigation in place in terms of authorities handling persons who are deaf and hard of hearing. So today, Jamal is here just to sensitize and bring awareness as to how much is in place to deal with persons who are deaf and hard of hearing, let's say in the different authorities, police, fire, and so on. So good morning, Jamal. How are you doing? Nice to have you back.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Shamla. It's very motivating to have this program this morning.
Awesome. So
And
Jamal,
to be discussing this topic.
awesome. So Jamal, let's dive straight into it. Recently, for the past couple of years, we have been having, I guess, a spate of murders happening throughout different communities and so on. Like just after yesterday, we had a shootout, in our area. And let's say, for example, I would just give this snap that happened yesterday. A car was driving, and police and the car was in a shootout. Now, let's say somebody who is deaf or hard of hearing were in that position where they, let's say, driving, right? Is there any way to police can alert persons who are deaf and hard of hearing in terms of handling situations that they are in the position where they may be in harm's way? Are they sensitized to deal with persons who are deaf and hard of hearing?
No, they don't really have any alerts right now that will sensitize them to persons who are deaf and hard of hearing. But persons who are deaf and hard of hearing, they are always alert, especially when they are driving. Right? So they use all their senses. Well, most of their senses, but they are more aware of situations. But the police right now, they don't have any alerts to say something in that area that they would alert them to be careful. So persons who were in that shootout, perhaps they may, the deaf or the hard of hearing person may see if the police was talking about the different colors that the person was wearing, the description of the person, and they now have to be aware for themselves to look out for these persons.
Let's say somebody's in danger, immediate danger, or let's say somebody gets pulled across, or you're required to call the police or inform the police, that you're in danger. Is there any technology in place to reach persons, to reach a police, or let's say fire service and so on? Or do we need an aid to facilitate this?
Before, we had the CVAS, a visual service for the deaf and the blind persons. So they would have called CVAS, and CVAS may have informed them. So it was a three-way conversation with persons who were hearing but CVAS is closed off right now. Right? So the deaf used to communicate through CVAS, and they would have informed the deaf community through CVAS. But it's difficult right now. It's difficult right now.
Well, it sounds like CVAS was an important element within this, topic. And how come CVAS closed?
He said yes, they were important. CVAS wasn't for all, was just for the deaf and hard of hearing community. Some of the deaf they have various ways of deafness. So sometimes CVAS would be communicating with persons who knew sign language. So they would have warned them. But then not all the deaf used to use CVAS, and they needed a certain amount to stay online. So it was different from what we had other services before.
Let's say, something happened and a member of the deaf and hard of hearing, were wrongfully accused or happened to commit, let's say, a crime in different capacity. Is there anything in place in the, let's say, the police system to communicate with persons who are deaf and hard of hearing? I know I asked a similar question, but then also in terms of the prison system, is there any way? What about the court system? Are you aware of anything like this?
They really don't have anything in place right now. Plenty times the deaf and hard of hearing, if they get arrested for whatever reason, the police sometimes just set them free because they don't really have access to sign language interpreters, or they themselves are not sign language, don't know the sign language. And sometimes we ask them to at least get an interpreter or learn sign language.
Right. So this image, obviously, there's a gap where there's no sensitization or even persons who communicate with, the deaf and hard of hearing community within the element. What can be done? What should be the starting stage? Help not only sensitize, but educate persons in the prison system, in fire service, and so on, to start communicating with persons who are deaf and hard of hearing so they can get, I guess, equal rights in terms of communicating, not only through an interpreter, but sometimes they want privacy, So yeah, how should you start even getting sensitized?
Two main ideas that he has, and you said it, the right to information, just as a hearing person. If the police would welcome interpreters, they must ask the deaf person which one of the interpreters they would need. So sometimes a deaf person sign language varies. So not everyone could interpret for a deaf person. So sometimes they may tell you to bring a person that they are comfortable with. Or sometimes we have coders, that is children of deaf persons. They can use those persons. Sometimes also, that's the second one, police think that all family members are signers and interpreters, but that's not so. Sometimes family communicate different from the deaf person if they were not formally learned. In the prison system, example, the same thing. There are no one in prison service who basically would communicate with persons. Sometimes they think that the person who are deaf and they commit the crime, sometimes they don't really get that proper representation. There's nothing in place, basically.
Right.
So we need to have things in place, especially for all the services that deaf persons communicate with, because we are citizens also.
You mentioned interpreters, accessing interpreters. Are interpreters easily accessible in Trinidad and Tobago?
We don't have enough interpreters in Trinidad and Tobago. And interpreters, there will never be enough, because we need different skills for deaf on their everyday life. So sometimes a deaf person can help each other. But if we have more deaf interpreters also, they can help clarify things when we need interpreters. One more problem is if the police service understand that deaf and hard of hearing they can help them, they can assist them, if they believe that they can be a service for them.
Awesome.
We need that. That's my opinion, and that could be done through the services that could be given to us. And they need to be educated also, once they are willing to understand that. In the police service, we need for us to teach them about our community. It's not that we are managing them, but communicating with them.
Jamal, thank you. Before you go, can you give us a contact where persons can contact Team Legendary in case they want to know more about how they can equip themselves through sign language?
My number, 739-3094.
Okay, awesome. So thank you, Jamal. And what I gathered is that we really need, sensitization, awareness, and we need to start from scratch in these different authorities. So thank you so much for coming, sharing your knowledge and your experience as a person who is hard of hearing. And Cheryl, thank you for your kind service today. Awesome. And guys, with that being said, I want to say thank you so much to everyone for tuning in to this week's segment of Unique Not Different. As I always say, be good, do good. Till next week. Bye, everyone.